Tell your story.
Change the conversation.
Organized by students.
TEDxYouth at SHC.
The years in which I was most miserable, the years in which I made the worst decisions for myself and those around me, the years in which my childhood abruptly ended are the years in which I've become most grateful for. I am a highly sensitive person. Transitions and new situations rattle me. Large groups of people sometimes make me very uncomfortable. I'm ultra aware of the discomfort of those around me. And most of all, I feel emotions very strongly. When I was in elementary school, I lacked the self-awareness to understand and handle these emotions properly. My godmother is a giant season ticket holder, and when I was little, I would go with her to the games. The huge screaming crowd stressed me out so much, I wouldn't eat for the entire afternoon, causing me to get a horrible stomachache. We usually left around the 5th inning. Another time in elementary school, I boycotted the DeYoung Museum semi-permanently after a stained glass piece of a little girl and her dead bunny caused me to start crying in the middle of our school field trip. Although during those years, it felt like the world was happening to me, there wasn't a negative and lasting effect. It was just elementary school. When I reached the years known as the bane of adolescence, middle school, life became a lot more complicated than baseball games and emotionally scarring stained glass exhibits. It was the first time my class and I were expected to be someone, to look a certain way, to manage time and worry about success. It was the first time all of us had to grow up, just a little bit, and it was hard. For many of us, the support system in place designed to guide us through the confusion of early adolescence was not enough, and we turned to an ulterior emotional outlet. Anorexia, bulimia, self-harm, and the constant craving for perfection reigned during my 7th grade year. Through all of this, you would take one look at our class, and externally, we all looked fine. For the highly sensitive person like me, it was a war zone. My emotional sieve that processes my emotions was already strained, pun intended, trying to filter my many emotions. And on top of that, I was convinced that I wasn't supposed to be feeling these feelings, that I wasn't supposed to be having a hard time, because it didn't look like anyone else was. So I'd throw myself into someone else's struggling wherever I could find it, because it was easier to validate the emotions of other people rather than my own. After a year of shoving every feeling down, of punishing myself over growing pains, I somehow convinced myself I didn't deserve to feel bad. I know it sounds absurd, but for me, a highly sensitive person, I need those negative emotions, those bad days, because those are what I step on in order to reach the good feelings that are higher up on the shelf. By depriving myself of negative feelings, I ended up depriving myself of all feelings, and I was miserable. So my parents put me in therapy. For the first year, I would sit stiff and still on the couch, having to face the crushing weight of all of the feelings I'd shoved down for so long. But by the end of 8th grade, I had more tools to help me handle my sensitivity in a constructive way, and I was happier, more comfortable in my relationships, and emotionally functional. Then I graduated. Starting high school felt like drowning all over again. I went from a class of 30-something students to a class of 300-something students. Grades actually mattered. The material was hard. Worst of all, I was feeling all this pressure to put myself out there and join sports, clubs, and extra classes. My emotional sieve and I had just learned how to walk again, and I was being asked to sprint. I went through freshman year not repressing emotions, but doing my best to avoid the big ones. I stuck to my daily routine like it was the only thing keeping me together, and I didn't do sports or clubs, and I made friends conservatively. I was slowly weaned off of therapy and stopped halfway through freshman year. I wasn't super happy, but I was safe, and I was finally figuring out how to, as I put it, emotion correctly again. This year, I finally figured some stuff out. After a good year of practicing with my emotions, my high sensitivity is no longer something that hurts me, but something that helps me understand and support those around me. With that tool under my belt, the pieces finally began to fall together. My emotional sieve processes my emotions consistently and flawlessly because no longer am I trying to shove some of those feelings down. Most of all, I have learned to love the down days, treasure the times when I feel like nothing is going right, and cherish the moments when I want to go home and cry, because those are beautiful in their own right. I love those feelings not because of their position on the shelf, but because they help me reach the good feelings that are higher up. Everyone has varying degrees of sensitivity, and everyone's emotional sieves processes emotions differently. But everyone feels in the same way. Sadness hurts, happiness feels good. In today's world, certain emotions are dubbed unacceptable because of who you are or who you associate with. It's absurd to tell anyone how and when they should feel, so I'm going to ask you all to help me change this thinking. The next time you begin to shove down a feeling because it embarrasses you, or doesn't fit within the confinements of how society wants to see you, or you just don't feel like dealing with it, take a moment. Acknowledge that feeling. Recognize that it's valid and understand that it's yours and a part of you. Once you've done that, you can hide it away or do with it what you will, because the important and lasting changes begin from within. So yes, the years in which I was most miserable, the years in which I made the worst decisions for myself and those around me, the years in which my childhood abruptly ended are the years in which I've become most grateful for, because those were the years when I learned how to feel like me. Thank you.